Megadimension Neptunia Z, Twilight of the Desperate CPU is the title of the first game in Megadimension Neptunia V2, and the mouthful titles don't end there. The latest mainline entry in the Neptunia series for PS4 boasts 3 campaigns in the package of one game, and I'll be taking a look at each one in a separate video since this is how the game is presented. First up is the Zero Dimension campaign. The game does a bit of summary of the main characters and setting, and if JRPG quirkiness is your thing, then this is not a bad game to start with. But there's a lot of character moments and jokes that will be more greatly appreciated by longtime fans.
Neptune! Neptune, I'm the pro tag! There's no way I'll lose!
The game begins with our 4th wall-breaking protagonist, Neptune, finding this game's representation of a Dreamcast and being sucked into it with her sister Nepgear. They find themselves in a post-apocalyptic dimension with no humans around except for the land's CPU, Uzume Tenuboshi, who's been fighting to keep what's left of her version of game industry from giant robots whose origins aren't exactly explained in the first campaign, but basically the Eggman to Neptune's Sonic, R4, is behind everything once again, and you fight her and her giant robot, Dark Purple, several times throughout the story.
Perhaps we should place the old lady in captivity and interrogate her.
Throughout the story, Uzume and the Neps grow closer in their battles to save Zero Dimension, and we find out that Uzume pretty much puts on a cool tough girl act because she feels she needs to as the sole protector of game industry. But this facade fades away entirely when she's in her HCD form, Orange Heart. Much of Uzume's past is shrouded in mystery and we get some hints as to what happened, but the storyline isn't resolved in Zero Dimension. Another newish character is introduced in this campaign, and that's Adult Neptune, who has quickly become my favorite character in the series. She's the alternate version of Neptune from Plutia's dimension.
Hey, cutie, with the pink hair, what's your name? Me?
If you've played Mark II, Victory, or any of the Rebirth games, you know what to expect from the gameplay, though there are some very welcome changes to the battle system. The system is still turn-based, but now attacking is based on a combo system. You still use the same 3 buttons for hits, but now depending on what level you are and what weapons you have, you can extend the combo chain for up to 5 attacks. As you level up, you'll unlock different combo attacks, which you can sequence however you like. However, depending on what weapon you have equipped, some combos will not be accessible. Each character has a movement range now, which at first I didn't like because it felt more limited than movement in the previous games, but I don't really have a problem with it now. Weapons also determine the range in which you can attack. It's all about finding balance with what you want. If you want to be able to attack 3 enemies at once, you may have to settle for a weaker weapon. Take a limited range for a stronger sword. You may find yourself sticking with older weapons to access combo strings you favor. The EXE gauge has also been changed too. This one I really like. Instead of building up over multiple battles, it resets to 0 for every battle but fills up quicker than ever, allowing you quicker access to HDD forms and new special team attacks.
Go! Hit it back up!
My favorite battle change is the removal of the guard bar, which made grinding and fighting bosses in previous entries a chore. Now it's just a straight up health bar which makes battles easier and quicker. On the subject of grinding, there's a lot less of it in Zero Dimension. There's also no quests or scouts yet. Zero Dimension is very story focused, and I think it eases the player into what this game will ultimately be very well. I beat the campaign in roughly 11 hours with very little grinding, so despite the advertising, this isn't a full-fledged Neptunia adventure, nor did I expect it or the other campaigns to be. So I'm not sure why they felt the need to present it as 3 different games.
I got you all involved in my fight. My problem. I can't let you die because of that.
Boing!
That being said, Zero Dimension is very quickly paced for a JRPG, though sometimes the story to gameplay ratio can slow down the pace considerably with more cutscenes than dungeon crawling. This isn't necessarily a problem if you love the characters, and there's enough fan service sprinkled throughout, but as is the case with most lower budget games, there's more sequences without voice acting than there is with. And the voice acting is great. Most fans of Japanese content don't even care to give English dubs a chance, but trust me, this is a top tier dub.
I guess she was actually pretty bothered by our name calling.
I also think the writing is pretty good for what it is. There's a lot of meme-ish jokes and references which would normally be a red flag for me in any localization, but that sort of meta-commentary is what this series is all about, and it works very well. The series has never been a hard-hitting satire on the gaming industry, but rather a more lighthearted parody of it. It doesn't get caught up in cynical criticism, but Zero Dimension does have its darker moments, which are necessary given Sega and the Dreamcast's fate. Graphically, the game doesn't look very different. Some of the character models or environments look slightly better, but nothing groundbreaking here. This is the same engine running these games. What is noticeable is that this is the first time the game is running at 60 frames per second on a console, but I'm surprised it took this long given the low complexity of the graphics. With all that said, yes, there's a ton of reused assets, and you'll see a lot of environments and enemies from previous games, even fighting the same bosses multiple times. This would have tired me if not for the brisk pace of Zero Dimension's story. Music, in my opinion, is a step up. I never cared much for the music in previous entries, but after playing just Zero Dimension, I regret not trying to get the special edition and its CD soundtrack. There's some really great tunes here. Zero Dimension's theme is a great mix of J-pop and heavy metal, and the battle theme has a very synthy 80s vibe, which I love. Overall, Megadimension Neptunia V2 is off to a great start, and I would definitely recommend it to fans of the series, as it's the best mainline title so far, and I think it's a pretty good place for newcomers looking for a JRPG to hop into. Lovable characters, great music, and one of my favorite battle systems makes this a very worthwhile RPG to pick up. I give Zero Dimension a 5.8 out of 7.
Nip, 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 nip.